What's going on, Zero to Here podcast fans? Welcome back to the show. On tonight's episode, welcoming back Mr. Michael Belle. We kind of recap his first year on the Canadian tour, which was wild. It is crazy to think about how mentally draining professional sports is, especially golf. Golf is crazy. This is a really fun conversation. You're going to learn a lot from this guy. He is a very, very intelligent guy, a very good golfer, and we hear all about his year. Enjoy the show. We'd love to hear from you guys. Leave us a review, hit the subscribe button. Peace. Let's talk golf first. Other than your golf, let's talk PGA golf. Patrick Reed, we can talk about his incident, but as he was teeing up on the first tee today, one of the fans in Australia yells out, Patrick, is your caddy carrying 14 clubs plus a shovel?
I think the Aussie fans have some of the best chirps.
They're hilarious,
They're so good.
Man.
They're so good. They're also yelling for his ball off the first tee to get in the bunker, which is just beautiful.
Carl, do you know what happened?
No, explain
last
it to
week?
me.
Okay, so it wasn't even really a bunker. It was kind of like the
it's a waste area. So it's basically like a desert. They were in the Bahamas, I think.
Yeah.
So there's different rules for a waste bunker and a regular bunker. Like you can't ground your club in a real bunker, but in the desert you can.
Gotcha.
But in both, you can't improve your lie at all. It's just how golf is. And his ball like ended up basically like in a foot mark or a hole kind of. And he put his club down and he took his backswing, and in his backswing he was moving the sand so his ball was no longer like in a hole.
Right.
So he could get a club on it. And it was so obvious. He did it twice, camera right behind him. And Twitter went wild, Instagram went wild. Like other players were calling him out, which doesn't really happen on tour. There's usually like a pretty close-knit group of guys. You don't, because it's like an integrity game, right?
Yeah.
You don't call people out on cheating, but it was so blatant. And then
Did you see it live?
Yeah, I was watching it and I was like,
do you remember what the commentator said?
no,
The commentator said, because he's in a waste area, he can do that.
no.
I know.
No.
As live. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't think
You can never
do that.
improve your lie like that. And then the worst part is like, regardless of your skill level, he said he couldn't see what he was doing and he couldn't feel moving. He said he couldn't feel that he was moving the sand.
Oh, fuck
But
off.
Stop.
regardless of like how good you are, even especially at the professional level, you know exactly what you're doing. Like, and they showed him it on camera. He's like, "Oh yeah, I definitely did that." And he's like, "But it wasn't my intention." And he's like, he's doubled down on the fact that he still says he doesn't know what he was doing, and it's so like it's just blatantly cheating.
So he is. He's like totally denying that he did it on
He's
purpose.
just denying what happened. He's like on TV for the President's Cup in the press room. He's like, as long as like you believe that you're doing the right thing personally, like I have no issue with it. It's like,
Is there judges? Is there someone that can like come out? And,
there's rules officials. There's like a committee that decides what's going on. He got like a 2-stroke penalty, I'm pretty sure. But like that's not even the issue. It's the issue like golf isn't like other sports, right? If there's no cameras there, you don't see that someo's cheating, and luckily there's a camera there.
Yeah.
Or in like hockey, basketball, whatever, you always see what's going on because there's
One ball.
there's one puck, there's one ball, and there's 150 golfers on the course, so there's not always someone there. And it's not even the first time he's done it. They were showing another instance like 5 years ago where he did the same thing.
Really?
Yeah. So he was already disliked, and now he's like extremely hated.
Did you see Justin Thomas in the practice round yesterday?
Yeah.
So Justin Thomas was in a greenside bunker yesterday in a practice round. And it's a practice round, so obviously they're not really keeping scores. And he picked his ball up and moved it over and like placed it on a nice piece of sand. And he's like, I didn't like my lie over there.
I kind of like that they're making light of it. I'm like 50-50 on what JT did. Like, I like that they're making fun of it, but at the same time, I hate that it's like being normalized almost.
Right.
Because he should get suspended. You can't fucking blatantly cheat. It's bullshit. And then even like the rules committee afterwards were were like, yeah, Patrick Reed was a gentleman about it. He could have been nicer. And they were not as harsh as they should have been.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
No, it's wild. Like, you just don't see blatant cheating in golf, especially like when there's a camera right behind you, and then you get asked about it after, and you still lie.
When you moved down to like the Canadian tour that you were on,
Yeah,
there's no cameras with you on every shot.
no, not every shot. There's cameras in certain places.
Is there?
On the weekends, especially, there's filming for sure.
Okay.
But in terms of like rules officials and like playing the same way, it's the exact same. There's plenty of rules officials to go around. If you have a situation where you need to bring someone in, you just tell the walking scorer who has a walkie-talkie, and they'll call in a rules official, and he's there in like 2 minutes. But like,
more so in terms of like, do you think a guy like Patrick Reed in the spotlight who's just like saying, oh yeah, I didn't really realize, do you think that just opens the door for maybe guys on lower tours who don't have someone looking over their shoulder, who don't have a camera on every shot, cheating?
When you get to like PGA Tour levels, like Canadian Tour, the Corn Tour, and like the Show Tour, there's I don't think many guys are doing it, but like Patrick Reed got kicked off of 2 college teams for cheating.
Really?
So he already had a reputation of doing it, and he just continues to do it. So that's why people are even more angry about it, because he's a guy known for it. And then that's the other part of it. So if it's a guy that's not Patrick Reed that like isn't really well standing and doesn't have a past reputation for it, I think it's seen a little differently for sure. But he got kicked off of like his Georgia or Augusta State team. I don't know where he went for kind of being accused of cheating. And then it's happened a few years ago, and now it's happened again. So guys are like, this is not an accident anymore. As opposed to like if some guy like who has the best reputation on tour?
Who?
Or who's seen as the best, would you say?
Like in terms of just like a nice guy.
If a guy like Spieth did it, like you could say,
like
okay, maybe it was an accident. But if you have like, if it's ongoing for like 5-10 years, it's not an accident, and you need to be suspended, or something like harsh needs to happen, because it just ruins the integrity of like what the sport is basically based on. Because it is a sport where you're not being watched all the time, a lot of the time.
Right.
Even on the PGA Tour, there's not cameras on every single hole, especially if you're not in a featured group.
For sure.
So you don't really know what's going on, but
it's a weird sport, right?
Very weird.
Do you think, like, what's going through his mind that he thinks he can get away with something like that? Because that was so obvious. Or do you think it's just like, I know it's him and you hate him, and a lot of people in the golf world hate him, so it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt, but do you think it's just a brain fart, being like, oh, I'm in a waste area, I can ground my club, and he thinks he's just grounding his club?
Yeah. I think that if it's any other player than Reed, that might be what I think.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it once. He did it twice. He moved the sand once. He put his club back down. He moved it again.
Didn't he change clubs?
And I don't know. It was just like, it was so obvious what was going on. And like, like I said before, you don't see like guys on tour and like LPGA players and Golf Channel analysis like chiming in, like reaming someone out, and they lost their minds. Like Brandel Chambly went on like a 25-minute rant about how he needs to get kicked off the tour.
Kicked off?
It was like a Happy Gilmore scene with Shooter and Happy in the tent. Doug, kick this guy off the tour.
Dude, CBC has an article about it right now, and the title is "Accusations of Cheating Dog Patrick Reed at President's Cup."
Yeah.
People are pissed.
I love President's Cup, but like this whole thing has made it even more interesting to watch, because the international guys hate Reed, and now they've got like additional ammo. Because the American guys are defending him, and then in the press room, and then the international guys are going in and getting asked the same questions, and they're just laying into him. Love to see it.
Why is he so hated? The cheating stuff. Probably.
He's not a very liked guy to begin with.
Right.
There's a bunch of stuff to do with his family from the past. Like, he has almost no relationship with his own family anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think there was a story once about, like, his family came to watch him at a tournament when he was a pro, and, like, he asked them, like, he got, like, security to ask them to leave and, like, kicked them out of the event. And there was, like, a huge article about explaining why it happened. And he's, like, a very, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that you just don't really like about him. And apparently he feeds off that energy, so good for him. But it's got to be hard when you're the least liked person in your sport.
Like, he's pretty good, but he's not good enough to be as arrogant as he is.
And the other thing, he won the Masters. Like,
Yeah.
he's really good.
Yeah.
You don't got to cheat.
Yeah. Or does it put a little like taint on his wins though?
Oh, I think for sure it does.
Yeah.
Because you got this question of, when there aren't cameras, what is he doing? He did it right in front of a camera. What do you think he's doing when there aren't any?
He's probably like me in the rough, fluffing up his lie, putting it on the
Got
top.
scissors, cutting the grass.
I've ripped tree branches off trees before.
He also
Get a swing.
had a couple of, like, alcohol related incidents in the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
So some of his
Did he go to Georgia or Augusta State?
It says Georgia.
I think he went to both.
Maybe he moved to Augusta
Maybe
State.
he left Georgia.
Yeah,
after the
I think he
situation.
went to two different universities. I could be wrong, but he was very disliked at both of them.
There's like cheating, theft allegations.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like a good
Just an
guy.
all-around great guy. Yeah. Canadian tour this year, Mike.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions. Do you want to start with just like a little recap?
Yeah. Sure.
So obviously the build-up to get on was
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
It was your second or third Q school?
Third.
Third Q school.
Yeah.
And you played great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Got my full card.
Sunday was fun because you had
Yeah.
two mysterious
Had
fans.
two fans show up for the end.
We didn't show up for the end.
No, you were there the whole time, just sneaking around in
I've
the trees.
videoed that. I have a video on my phone of you making that eagle putt
Yeah.
from in between two trees, and I like zoomed in as soon as you hit the putt, and I saw it go in the hole.
It was probably like the hardest golf year of my life, but the most fun. There's so much stuff you have to learn on the fly on a tour like that in your rookie season that you can't really prepare for fully. And
Like
you
what?
kind of like figuring out all the travel stuff. So making the cut on Sunday, making the cut on Friday, playing Saturday, Sunday, flying to a new city Monday morning, playing a practice round Monday, Pro-Am Tuesday, practice round Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, fly out again. And you're kind of figuring out the best way to do it. So you can finish your round on Sunday, fly out Sunday night and get there early, or finish Sunday, fly out on Monday morning and have less time on Monday. You can miss the cut on Thursday, figure out if you want to practice, or miss the cut on Friday, figure out if you want to practice there on Saturday, Sunday, or if you want to fly out on the Friday. There's just a lot of things on the go that you have to learn. Even the if you want to stay with other people while you do it, or stay by yourself in hotels, there's a lot of planning that goes into it, and not a lot of time to figure it out, because your situation's always changing. I mean, you can be on your very last hole on Friday not knowing if you're going to make the cut or not, so you can't really book flights, book cars, anything like that until you know what's going on.
Are most guys doing all that stuff themselves?
I would say like 95% are doing it themselves.
And does the tour help you out with that stuff at all?
Yeah, there's like call it like a PGA Tour hotline, or someone that you can phone to kind of get you the best deals on hotels, flights. We have PGA Tour Canada has a WestJet contract and an Air Canada contract that we can use discount codes for. There's always like host hotels and host houses and you can stay with, so they do a really good job of setting you up, but you're in charge of figuring out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And every guy's different on if they're okay rooming with kind of strangers or guys they want to stay with, or if they play better staying with themselves. I would say the majority of guys do whatever they can to make it the cheapest.
Totally.
Because even though it's like a PGA Tour sanctioned tour, the money isn't great until you're at the very top of it. If you win an event, you're set for the year. But even if you're coming like playing great golf, coming top 20, top 30, you're really like struggling financially most of the year. So it's a good building block, but it's not really a tour where you're making money. You're just learning. You're still learning until you make that next jump.
And just the number of guys that move on each year is so small.
Only 5.
It's 5.
Yeah. 5 and then another 6.
Out of 140 something?
Well, each tournament has 150 guys, but I think there's like 220 guys with status.
Okay.
And these aren't like scrubs. Like the top 15, 20 guys on the Mackenzie Tour could be playing on the PGA Tour. And like even President's Cup was on in the background. There's like 4 or 5 alums that were on the Mackenzie Tour a couple years ago that are playing in the President's Cup now. So it's crazy how talented guys are. And that's your competition, so.
Golf is like, is there any other sport like golf where the difference between like the absolute elite, the top 10 in the world, and then like a guy on the Mackenzie Tour is so small? Like over a 4-round tournament, it's a shot or 2.
I would say maybe tennis is the only one like that. I think that in golf, like the very, very, very top guys are usually like consistently on the top.
Yeah.
Like even when Rory has a bad week, he's like top 10, top 15.
Yeah.
And same like, dude, I love tennis. So not to change the subject, but like Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal for I don't know how many years, 15 years, 20 years. They've been like 1, 2, 3 for that long.
They have a bad tournament and lose in the semifinals.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
They you can project them to make the semifinals in every single major.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So is there like their skill base is that much better, or do you think it's just consistency?
I think their skill base is better, and they're better between the ears, and they've been in those situations more and more that they can just rely on stuff they've learned already.
It seems like tennis, though, the top guys are at the top more often than golf.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Probably because you're playing against someone, right?
Yeah.
So
I think golf's the only, maybe wrong. I think it's maybe the only sport where it's individual that isn't against someone. Like tennis is individual, but you still have
playing against someone.
It'd be like if golf was only match play, I think. Right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because in tennis, you can still win you can still win a match by playing shitty. If you play shitty in golf, you're not gonna.
It's still different though because you're
no, it's completely different.
Even in match play, you're not playing directly against someone.
Yeah.
So like in tennis, you're trying to pick up on people's weaknesses and hit it to their backhand or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas golf, it's
just there's no opponent, right? It's just you.
Yeah, it's just you against the course, basically.
You could shoot 61 in match play and lose, right?
Yeah.
Golf is so strange. The idea of it is phenomenal, right? You're out on this like perfectly manicured, gorgeous landscape.
It's a great, dude. It's a great sport. It just sucks.
It's so hard.
It's so frustrating.
How does that? Okay, Mike's defending the game by saying it's a great sport, but it sucks.
It's like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like, and because everything like, I don't know. Like I think day to day it changes more than every single sport. Even like you were in Palm Springs recently. You can play great one day and their swing is completely different the next. And I think the best guys in the world are the best at diagnosing like their issues the fastest.
Right.
So they'll play great one day, they'll get onto the range the next day, they're not hitting it great, but they can figure it out really fast.
Yeah.
And they know why they're not playing great.
Mm-hmm.
And the very best guys like Tiger, Rory, they can figure it out like during a round. They don't need that extra range session to change it. Miss a few greens with hooks, with slices. They can, figure it out right away. Be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I need to switch it. And then they can trust it for the rest of the day. and they don't need that 1-2 hour practice session to trust a swing change in the middle of their round.
There's just so many different aspects of it too that work totally independently. Like one day you'll have a ridiculously good putting day.
Yeah.
The next day you're hitting it great off the tee, but you can't putt worth shit. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I putt so good 2 rounds out of 7 in Palm Springs. So good. Literally everything inside 40 feet, I was literally hitting it on the lips.
Yeah.
And there was one round where I lipped out 4 birdie putts, which is, as a guy that's not that good at golf. For Mike, that might be not very many, but for me, even to have 4 attempts at birdie is a lot.
Yeah.
So if I'm lipping out 4, it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But hitting exactly where I wanted to.
There's a question that I wanted to ask you last time.
Yeah.
So how many days of the week is there a golf club in your hand?
8.
Yeah. So at least every day you're swinging.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing about someone like Mike, so now he's kind of like getting through an injury.
Yeah.
So he's probably not hitting driver at the range every day, but even in Palm Springs when Mike comes with us, after rounds, he's like on the carpet just putting. Right? Like me and Alex are making ourselves stiff vodka sodas. Mike is like behind the sofa putting.
I'll have a vodka soda in my hand, but I'll be practicing.
Well, the reason I ask is like when I play college basketball, right?
Yeah.
The Monday practices after a Sunday off would always be the worst.
Yeah.
So, and golf is so much more like precise and fine, right?
And it's like one of the hardest things to do to figure out on the year on tour is like if you miss a cut and you have to, and say you miss a cut but you played well, it's hard to give yourself like a day off even though you need it, because you feel like if you miss a cut you did something wrong, you want to get right back at it in practice. But sometimes the best thing to do is to take that day off. Like say in basketball, like if you have a bad day on the free throw line, usually a lot of guys in the NBA, they probably spend an hour, 2 hours after their game shooting free throws to get ready, which is great to do. But sometimes you just need that time off to kind of reset.
Because like how to shoot a free throw. The mechanics are there.
Exactly. But it's, I think, maybe more of a mental thing than a skill thing at that point.
So you just give yourself a little bit of a recharge.
You give yourself that room to to just take a step back and not figure out what went wrong, because you knew that pretty quick. But it's just nice to it's nice to have some time off, but at the same time, you have to be able to tell yourself that time off is the right thing to do as opposed to practice.
Do you think a lot of guys, or maybe just from your experience, do you think the loneliness comes into play? Like if you're off, let's say you miss a cut on Friday, going to the range is almost like a soothing thing because you have something to do rather than just going home, being in a hotel for the next 3 days and not doing anything.
It is super nice. It's really lonely at times, like especially if like I went through a stretch where I missed 3 cuts in a row and I felt like I was playing pretty good, and you are super lonely. Like you're in some random city in Winnipeg. You're in a random city. Like, not that nothing's wrong with Winnipeg, but
there's some things wrong.
A few things.
But you're in these places by yourself for the year. You're under financial stress. You're literally like playing for money to pay for the next week. Mm-hmm. You're not with your family. You're not with your girlfriend. You're not with your friends, and you need. I'm lucky to have the support that I do with my girlfriend and my family, but some guys don't really have that. Mm-hmm. And if you're missing, 2, 3, 4 cuts in a row, everything is just adding up, and it makes the next tournament that much harder. And if you're already like stressed out and pressing in golf, you're not going to be very successful. It's hard enough already.
Especially when you're playing different courses, like I'm assuming, how many other events were there? There was 12?
There was 12.
2 of them were in BC?
So we go...
Or 3?
Vancouver, Victoria, Kelowna.
Okay, so 3.
Yeah, and then we go to Lethbridge. And then we go to Windsor. And then Toronto, Nova Scotia. And then we come all the way back to Edmonton and Calgary.
Ooh, the scenic route of the tour.
Yeah. So actually, that was my favorite. That was my favorite part. So you get like a 2-week or 1.5 weeks off between Nova Scotia and coming back out west. So I fly back to BC and then I drive to Edmonton and Calgary through Banff and everything.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice to be by yourself through all that. It's like the nicest.
Do you drive by yourself?
Yeah. It's like the nicest drive. Maybe not in the world, but it's up
super
there.
nice,
It's crazy.
So 9 tournaments outside of BC.
Yeah.
How many of those 9 courses had you played before?
0.
So you have 9 new courses. How much time do you spend, like, whether it's on the internet or going there on Monday and looking at the course for 3 days, like planning strategically off the tee where you want to hit it? And
I'll map out. I'll do like 2 or 3 hours of mapping out a course before I even get there.
just looking at holes online?
I use Google Maps, and there's like a feature where you can measure the distance between like tree line to tree line and everything like that. Because that's another part of the rookie year where people don't really understand that guys have been out there for 5 to 10 years already, and they've played those courses 20, 30 times already, and you're seeing it for the first time. So it'd be like me playing a tournament at VGC versus guys that have never seen it before, right? It's a huge advantage.
It's interesting. It's honestly me not being a professional golfer at all, not even close. Even in Palm Springs, like the courses that I played before, a bunch. I've been down there a lot. And someone like Brenton or Malcolm, who is maybe year 1 or 2 down there, I'm coming up to a hole that's like 380 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have a 4-iron in my hand. They're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there's a bunker that you can't really see over there that I really don't want to be in. It's like 240. And I'm like telling them about the hole, and they've got driver in their hand, and they hit it literally in the bunker.
Yeah.
So it's like such a big advantage for sure.
Well,
are you allowed to use rangefinders on tour?
We're allowed now. I think it's like the second year you've been allowed, and it's mostly for like pace of play, just to make it a little quicker.
Is PGA the only one that you can't?
You can't. I don't think you can on the corn or the.
Not on the corn.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I call it web.com. So what is it called? Corn Ferry?
Corn Ferry.
It's a weird name. It's like an insurance company.
Very weird. But yeah, there's one thing I want to ask both of you.
Okay.
So, for me, like some of my biggest putts this year were worth like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Do you think that, so other than golf and individual sports, there's guaranteed contracts. Do you think performance in other sports would go down if the money you earned was based on making shots or scoring goals or whatnot? So if you had say you make $15 million a year in basketball, that's your contract. But say instead of making $15 million a year, you have to make a free throw worth $1 or $2 million, and nothing's guaranteed. It changes your mindset completely.
Holy fuck!
It's not the best comparison, but it's kind of like that.
I don't know how you would do it in team sports just because there's so many other factors.
I don't think you can, but it's an interesting thing to talk about because every single swing and putt you make literally determines how much money you make.
Every athletic action.
Every action you make on the golf course determines your salary.
Right. But probably the guys that have that in their head are the ones that don't do well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a ridiculous sport. And it's especially like grinding your way through the tours to get even, I guess the guys on Corn Ferry that are even middle of the pack are making a pretty good income.
Once you get onto that, your sponsorship increases. So a lot of like you get paid by, TaylorMade, your clothing sponsor, your advertising space, all that, which is really nice. But because, it's not televised, there's not a ton of media on the Mackenzie Tour. There's not as many sponsors. There's not as many people giving you money. So you're basically playing for whatever the purse is. That's what you're going to make this week.
It's basically like a cash poker game every week, right? Yeah. You go in negative money because you put money on the table to play. And you're you're just hoping to get a few good hands, a couple good lies in the rough or whatever.
And people like you understand this more than others. And a lot of my friends that they kind of know golf, but not really, they're like, oh, like you had a pretty awesome year. You got to travel throughout Canada. Like, living the luxury life. I'm like, no.
Yeah, it costs you a lot
Like,
of money to do
it
that.
costs me a lot of money. I'm like staying in rundown like Airbnbs. I'm trying to save money. I'm eating shitty food. Like trying to do as much as I can so I can perform my best. But at the same time, like it's super, super stressful.
Grass is always greener, right? Like no one really understands what someone else is going through.
Yeah.
Even the guys on the PGA Tour that are grinding it out.
Yeah.
Maybe they make $1 million in winnings, but literally they're away from their family for 40 weeks a year.
Yeah.
They're super lonely in hotels. It just like
It's a lonely
it's a
game.
different lifestyle, right?
It's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Relaying it to other sports though, I just don't. I can't think of another sport where it would even.
no, because
work well.
even traveling like in team sports, it's different when you have all your buddies on your team on a plane or in a bus. It's a lot different than taking, getting up at 4 in the morning, going to the airport by yourself and just like sitting there, like sleeping before your 6 a.m. flight and then getting off and going straight to the course alone, playing alone.
It would be
You
more
don't
like
see another human being, for like 2 days.
It'd be more like a musician almost.
Yeah.
Even like
I guess, yeah.
musician would be perfect. Like UFC fighters, but they have teams that they go with them, right?
Yeah. Same with musicians, like that have a band, or a manager
engineer
or
guys.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like if you're a single musician, like just starting out your career, getting like
just playing in bars and stuff.
playing in bars and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I love it, but it gets a little stressful and lonely at times. But sacrifice.
What are your ways to get through that? Or being on the road for a year, what do you look back and be like, okay, well, next time I miss a cut for next year,
Yeah.
and I'm in the hotel for 2 nights by myself, I'm going to spend more time doing this or whatever. Like, is it podcasts? Is it reading? Is it practicing more? Is it going out and just like,
I love watching stuff.
yeah,
Like I read a little bit, but I'm more visual. I love watching movies, watching series. But like honestly, you're alone a lot, so you roll through series pretty quickly. Like it's hard to find new stuff on Netflix that you haven't seen. I listen to podcasts a lot, especially like driving the 12, 14 hours from here to Alberta or wherever. And a lot of the podcasts you listen to are almost like practice in a sense because you're listening to like stuff that'll help your mental game.
totally.
So it's not like a lot of the time you're listening to stuff that's fun and like entertainment, but a lot of the time you're listening to stuff that's going to help you as well.
What podcast do you like for that, for the mental stuff?
There's a few that I listen to a lot. I listen to Bob Rotella a lot, which is like a putting guru. So
Are most of them golf related?
some are golf. Do you know what masterclass is?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's just like a bunch of like it's very famous people talking about, how they do certain things, and I like that a lot. I like listening to podcasts with people I haven't heard of, but I really take advantage of like people that are super successful in what they do and listening to how they got to where they were. It's kind of like not exactly the same as your podcast, but you like getting points of view from people that are successful in their craft. I kind of do the same thing, and apply it to how I can apply it to how I see fit.
Do you see any similarities between those successful people talking about their startups and how they got to where they're?
The most common thing I see is that they basically bet on themselves more than anyone believes in them. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like even if they have no supporters at all, they didn't really waver in thinking that they would be successful at any point in their life.
Yeah.
They just head down. They knew what they had to do to get to where they wanted to, and they did it, regardless of if they had support or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important, especially in golf. Like if you don't believe in your own skill set, even if you're the most talented person in the world, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to like just not hearing negativity.
Yeah.
So like no matter if you're starting a business or a podcast or it's your first year on the Mackenzie tour.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, that Mike kid from BC is not that good. Like he's only going to be out here a year or two. And it's really easy to listen to that
It
stuff,
is,
right?
for sure.
Because it happens all the time.
And it's super, super easy to listen to it when you are playing bad.
Right.
That's the hardest part. So, I mean, it's probably the same with you when you, like, I don't know if you've heard this, but if you start a podcast and people are like, oh, why would you start a podcast? Why are you doing that? It's like, because I want to.
Yeah.
It has literally nothing to do with you.
Yeah. You know, I heard the stat somewhere. I do not have data to back it up, but I'm going to say it anyway. The average podcast lasts 7 episodes. So people start them.
So people,
They do a few episodes,
like
and
a little
then they
hobby,
just,
and then they're like, oh, I don't have 1 billion followers yet, and they give up.
Yeah.
Well, that's how life works.
Yeah. Isn't that like, it's so funny. To be good at anything, you need to do like tens of thousands of times, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many fucking golf swings have you?
I don't even want to count.
Like,
It's insane.
10 million more?
Yeah. It's just something you can look this up. I think Greg Norman has a stat. If you Google it, just type in how many golf balls does Greg Norman think he's hit, and it's like it's an insane amount.
Really?
Yeah.
Mike, would you like
I think
another?
Yeah, I'll have a little top up. Thanks.
Uh-oh, Carl, something's happening with my boom here. It's falling off the table.
Like millions and millions of range balls.
Just a stupid amount.
Just like absolutely insane. But I mean, I love it.
Can you talk to me a little bit about like the money side?
Yeah.
So like,
Do you want to know about the sponsorship side of it?
I want to know everything. So I want to know, like, when you're on the Mackenzie Tour, do you pay for tournaments? How much do they cost?
Yeah.
Like, what does your average week look like in terms of hotel, flight, rental car,
So
tournament cost? And then, like, also sponsorship side. How do you get sponsors? How does it change from, like, Mackenzie Tour versus Corn Ferry?
Yeah. So a full year, and this is me doing it cheaply with like cheap hotels, staying with friends when I can, costs about 20,000.
That's everything included?
And this is
flight, hotel.
This is flights, rental cars, entry fees, etc.
Do you like find a few friends and say, hey, I'm going to rent a car in Toronto next week?
Almost everybody splits hotel fees and splits rental fee.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The entry fee per tournament is not very big.
Okay.
So it's $275
Okay.
to play each week.
But still, if you play 12
And
times
that's for a member. I think it's like $400 for a non-member.
like for a Monday qualifier.
Yeah. So, and the Monday to go into a Monday qualifier costs more than the actual tournament fee. It's like $350 for a 1 day, and then it's $275 for the actual event.
And would that person that qualifies Monday,
They'll get
how many are there
8
out of like 100?
150.
150?
Yeah.
8 out of 150. Do those people pay $350 to play that and then $275?
No, they'll get refunded like the 75 or $50, whatever it is.
Okay. Are all of that entry fee stuff for Monday qualifiers, that's what pays the winners out, basically?
Most of the purse comes from like the title sponsor for the event.
Okay.
So Canada, I think it's Canada Life Financial, Freedom 55 Financial. They're like the tour's main sponsor.
Okay.
And then each tournament has like their main sponsor that puts most of the money towards the purse. So in Victoria, it's like Bayview. In Kelowna, it's Golf BC. There's just a bunch of companies that like support golf, or they want their name out there, and they'll put up most of the money.
Like the Travelers Championship.
Yeah, exactly. So whenever you see a title sponsor like that, that's where most of the purse is coming from.
Okay. So let's say all-in cost for a year doing it fairly inexpensively is about 20 grand.
20, yeah.
That's including your tournament fees, hotels, cars.
That's fees, cars, flights, food.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how does the sponsorship stuff work?
So a lot of guys have like people from their host club that once you get on tour, they're like, I'm going to help you out and further your career. I had a lot of family friends that I knew that chipped in to help me out. I approached a few other people with some bigger companies that helped me out that I got in touch with. I did it in a way where I put their company logo on my hat and on my bag and on my shirts and stuff. And for like advertising space, I would charge them a certain amount. Some guys do it where they receive money from a sponsor and then the sponsor will receive money back from them based on where they finish in tournaments. So it's like if you come in 1st to 5th, I get 20% of that. If you come in 20th, 30th, I get 15% of that. Kind of like that. I didn't want to go that route because the money that I made, I wanted to keep. So all of my sponsors were just like advertising space. So my 3 big ones were Take 5, Vision Pros, and Precision OS. So I have that on my hat here.
That is a sweet hat, actually.
Yeah. And then each event I went to, I just wore everything that, represented their company and their brand. And they gave me an amount of money based on the space that I gave them.
Okay. And then what about like golf sponsor stuff? Like, is it kind of like getting out of high school and trying to get into university and sending them mixtapes?
Honestly, no, it's like you, honestly, once you get your, I might have talked about this on the other podcast. So I was a very similar player last year to this year, but as soon as you have a little card that says PGA Tour member, people are way nicer at responding to emails from you. Yeah. So I've sent out like dozens of emails to companies that didn't respond back to me. And then as soon as I was like, hey, I'm a PGA Tour member. My year's starting. I'm looking for a club sponsor or shoe sponsor, ball sponsor, whatever. They'll respond right away. And they're like, yeah, we'd like to help you out, or this isn't right for us right now. So I got in with Titleist for shoe, ball, glove, which is huge. They give me like a couple dozen boxes per event, some gloves per event.
Couple dozen per event?
Yeah, I got like 3 or 4 dozen per event.
Wow.
And like golf balls now aren't cheap, dude. They're like $60.
The Provies are like $69.99.
Yeah, so
for
12 balls.
12 balls.
So it's it's like two. It's like three. You're like saving $250-$300 a week from just getting balls alone.
Yeah.
Then you get shoes, you get hats, you get gloves. It really, really helps. And then the hardest thing to get like a full sponsor for is clubs, because that's the biggest cost. As soon as you get onto like the Corn Ferry Tour, the PGA Tour, everything, all that stuff's paid for. But Mackenzie's a little harder. But I'm lucky to know a few good people from Mira that have helped me out for a while. So I've been playing their stuff for 5 or 6 years now.
Isn't that like some of the best stuff in the world?
It's amazing. Yeah. So good.
I know Thierman.
He just bought a set, didn't he?
He did. They cost quite a bit of money, but they're gorgeous. I've never hit one. I don't know how they feel, but I'm assuming they feel good. Thierman like individually wrapped every one of his club heads before he put it in his travel bag to go to Palm Springs. It was pretty comical. But I guess if you're making that investment, you might as well.
Yeah.
Balls. You get 3 or 4 dozen. Yeah. I'm assuming a pro type player like yourself doesn't go through 4 dozen balls in a round. Yeah. But how often do you change balls? Because you watch PGA and they like switch after a couple holes because it gets beat up. Right?
Yeah, I switch every 9 holes.
9,
regardless of what shape it's in. That's just a rule that I have. So
is it a mental thing?
Not a mental thing. Just it. I guess
what if you're like 6 under on the front 9? Are you keeping that ball for the back?
No, because I don't like the superstitious stuff. I have like a set routine that I go through regardless if I'm playing good or bad. When I switch my ball, it's kind of like a mental reset.
Are most guys on Canadian Tour similar to that?
everyone has their own thing. Like one of the craziest stories this year is that the guy that won the tournament in Lethbridge played the same ball for 72 holes, the entire event, and it was beaten up, like scuffed, cart path, broken, ripped. He played it for all 72.
Just superstition?
Just superstition, yeah.
He won the tournament.
He won the event. I wouldn't say it's smart, but you do what you do.
How much does a scuffed golf ball affect its performance?
I think it's more in your head that it affects it. Like the little bit of scuff doesn't help. As soon as like the cover starts to rip a bit, that's when it kind of fucks it up a little.
Do you think it affects it? Like what quality of player, what scores do you need to be putting together where that affects it?
Maybe like half a shot around. Like it doesn't affect it that much, but it adds up over time.
Yeah. Because for someone,
but I think it's more the mental thing about it. Like if you see a scuff on your ball, and you're like, "Oh, this might
excuse.
This might make my ball go left or right." That's way more harmful than what the ball is actually doing itself.
Sure.
Fuck, everything is so mental, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I feel like guys, like if you were superstitious, it would just be too much.
I used to be when I was growing up as an amateur. I had to do things like go to bed at this time, like wake up at this time. I had to go to the practice range show up to my tee time, listen to this music. And I started playing my best and I was like, I'm just going to live my life exactly the same as I always have. And just like make sure that I'm at my, like what I can do to be at my peak performance level, I'll do. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'll just live my life the same. Like I love going to movies, going to the theaters. I'll go see a movie like almost every week when I'm on tour by myself, just to relax, just to get out of the hotel room and like do something I like that I do at home.
Yeah.
Like I used to be like, okay, I have a tournament tomorrow. I can't go out. I can't have a drink. I can't do this. And like when you start putting like that specific type of rules on yourself, you're just kind of like changing what got you in that position in the first place.
Yeah, totally.
But I know other guys that are like, I know other successful people that are super duper superstitious. It's like having and I understand it in a sense where you have a routine, like on the free throw line. You do the same thing every time. Mm-hmm. Same as golf, you'll have like a pre-shot routine that you try to do every single time. But I think that's a little different than like just living your life the same way and then also playing tournaments.
Yeah.
As opposed to living your life around having tournaments.
It would be more like the night before a football game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get pissed. I'm not gonna get pissed drunk before an event, but like I'll have a few beers with friends just to like enjoy myself and reduce my stress levels and whatnot.
Do you think that's almost even like better for your performance?
I think
to be stress free.
I think it's way better. Yeah, way better. I'll always try to do something I enjoy, like the night before a tournament.
Probably makes you sleep better too. Like going into a big event, you're probably so nervous as it is, right?
Very. And probably the most nervous, even more nervous than I was for Q School, was my first tee shot, like in Vancouver in front of like friends and family. And fucking striped it. It was awesome.
It's funny that it's interesting to even talk about is just like guys at your level who obviously have hit many more straight drives than me.
Yeah.
Percentage wise. Just like the nerves are still there. So for me, the first tee shot in Palm Springs, especially if you're at a course where like you can see the first tee from the pro shop or something, there's always like a little bit of that like nerves inside. Mm-hmm. But someone like Mike who's hit like tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of like mint 320-yard drives down the middle.
Yeah.
It's funny that nerve is still there.
Oh yeah. Right? Well, even so these are like 24 of the very best players in the world in the President's Cup. Yeah. And on the first tee, because it's like a little bit different and you're playing for your country per se.
Right.
They're like some of the tee shots this morning off the first tee were terrible. Like you'll never ever see them hit shots like that, and they did anyways. And they're the very best at their craft.
It's such a weird sport,
but
man.
Like we said before, I think the very best people in the world can handle, I think they feel the nerves like everybody else, but they can switch their mind to something different and kind of calm themselves faster or better than other people.
Like right now, Justin Thomas is hitting a tee shot on a par 3 from 196, which is a long par 3. And how many people are watching? Good. There's probably 1,000 people watching right now.
Yeah. That was classy.
Yeah, that's a different experience than playing on Sunday afternoon at the country club with your buddies.
It's way, 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 way different. Even like in my worst experience this year was the third last tournament of the year, and I was outside the number for keeping my card, and I teed off in the third last group of the event, so I was in like 11th place, I think, and I hadn't really experienced nerves like that before, and I shot first 3 days I shot 66, 70, 67, I think. And the last day, there was more people watching it, like, really, really mattered for me keeping my card, which is basically all you want to do at that point. And I played the worst round I had played in, like, 4 or 5 years and had a terrible finish. And it wasn't that my skill set was any different. I just didn't handle the moment properly. And part of that is on me, but I think part of it is also that you have to get into those situations more and more to know how to deal with it, because you can put all the mental exercises you train with the sports psych and everything you read and whatnot into play, but you can't really practice it until you're in those moments and you feel, the sweaty hands, the heartbeat's increasing, you're kind of like, oh shit, what if this happens, and you can do as much practice as you want, but you can't really train yourself for it until you're in those situations.
Do you think there's guys out there that just don't feel the same thing?
I think there's 100% different levels of anxiety and stress and feeling nervous for sure. And some people are just built differently.
The majority is that.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel at the same time, public speaking is like a big fear.
Yeah.
And I'm sweating. Like literally my face is sweating.
Yeah.
It's not like armpits where you can hide with a dark shirt. It's like your face.
Yeah. And a lot of it is practice, but a lot of it is getting in those situations more and learning from it. What's the biggest shot or biggest sports event you've had in your life where it made you feel a lot different than previously?
I played in Oklahoma against the University of Oklahoma in front of 14,000 people.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah. Biggest free throw, biggest shot, Carol?
Jeez, I don't know. That's tough. It's been a lot, but I know exactly what you mean.
But like as many free throws as you shoot, you can't recreate the exact feeling of doing it in front of 14,000 people in the biggest game.
Yeah.
You can do as much as you can to prepare for that, but you don't really know what it's like until you get into it. So it was very depressing for a couple weeks, knowing that I had a chance to do something that I wanted to do and failed at it, but definitely will make me a lot better when I get into that situation again.
Can you talk to me a little bit about like in round, what's going through your head prior to a shot? Like what's your pre-shot routine? What's going through your head? What, like 3, 4, or 5? I don't know. How many things do you think about?
So have you caddied for me before?
No.
So Alex has, a couple of my buddies have. I have like one very specific rule for people that caddy for me is that we're not allowed to talk about golf between shots. You can talk to me about literally anything in the world, but like that 2 minutes between each shot, I want to take my mind off of it completely. And then when I get to my pre-shot routine and over the ball, I want to basically hyper focus for that 15 seconds and hit. And then once the ball's gone, you can talk to me about anything else. Because if you try
multiple questions there.
Yeah. If you try to focus on your golf game for the 4 hours that you're out there and super focused, it is exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. So I take my mind off of it when I can and I enjoy myself. And then when I have to focus, I do.
Do you allow or ask caddies or anything to talk about golf during that shot process?
If I need confirmation on something, I'll ask them, but only if they like know what they're talking about. And because like if you have somebody that doesn't know golf, I'm not going to be like, so what club should I hit here?
Yeah.
But like if it's you or Alex or somebody that knows golf, be like, how much do you think the wind is going to affect it? And we'll kind of agree or talk about something that's going on, and then we'll come to a consensus. But you don't want a situation where you think one thing and your caddy thinks another, and then you get over the ball and you're like kind of in between what you should do.
So I'm thinking Alex specifically, but I think in some situations he'd be excellent. Like the 3 or 4 minutes in between shots,
Alex is so good.
He has a ridiculous amount of meaningless things to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give him that. But like if you're on a tee box and you're thinking of hitting driver or your 2-iron thing, whatever the hell you have that you hit 270, fucking jealous.
Be like, Alex, what club should I hit? I'd be like,
no, all his response.
Archibald picked up a stick in the forest today.
No, I think that is actually true. But in the golf talk, he would just throw out something stupid like tee it high and let it fly.
Yeah. And
like, Alex, you're not helping.
And I really appreciate like caddies that aren't super serious, but I need a mix.
Yeah.
Like I need someone that will be like Alex in between, but when I need like them to ask him a question, they can figure out the situation and be like, okay, not to make a joke here, like he really needs my opinion on something.
How do you do that? I'm assuming multiple tournaments outside of BC, you don't have caddies.
I carry my own bag for like 7 of the 12 events, just because the people that are assigned to you don't really want on your bag. And the funniest thing is the people that volunteer to caddy are like really good players from that home course. So they know a little bit more than you if you haven't seen the course before. So they know the little subtle breaks, but they'll be like the 2, 3, 4, or 5 handicaps that play on weekends where they're like kicking their ball and taking 5-footers, and they think they're way better than they are. And they're like, in another life, I could have been on the PGA Tour. Yeah. And they think they're so good that they're like trying to coach you through what you should do. And that's the worst. That's the worst, caddy. I had it once this year, and that's why I started carrying my own bag. Because there's so many like that where you basically have to say before the tournament starts, they're like, I only want you to carry the bag. And if I need you to say something, I'm going to ask you.
Mm-hmm. Especially like a tee shot you haven't seen or something.
Yeah.
Like there's multiple in Palm Springs where I hit a great drive and I'm in a creek.
Yeah.
Because you can't see it off the tee.
And it's a little bit different on tour because you've played 3 practice rounds. Sure. So you know exactly what's coming. Sure. So you don't really need them to tell you what's going on. But there's certain things where you would want some confirmation that they're helpful. But a lot of the time, the caddies you get are way overly active, and you're like lining up to hit a putt and like it breaks 2 inches left, and you're like, no, it doesn't. But even with them saying that, even if you believe you know the right read, it's like, oh, maybe he's right. And it's like as soon as you have like 2 different opinions, you're kind of fucked. It's the worst.
I completely know what you mean, because even in my own head, when I'm reading putts, I'm like talking about putting specifically, I'm reading putts, I'm like 87% sure that it's going to break like 3 balls to the left. Yeah. And then you get on top of the ball and you're like, fuck, it looks pretty straight. Yeah. And then you hit it straight and you're like, damn it broke 3 balls left.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So
that's really interesting. Yeah. How do you get your mind away from golf in between shots when you're
I like to talk about music.
No, but when you're carrying your own bag.
Oh, when I'm carrying my own bag?
If you're by yourself.
Oh, I have kind of a weird mind. Like,
let's hear this.
I think of a lot of different stuff.
Give me some examples.
That's a good question. I should have wrote some stuff down. But I'll think of anything. Like my favorite thing to do I love to bet sports. So I'll think about like things I'm going to bet on the weekend. I'll think about what teams I should bet on, what players will have good games.
And are you consciously doing this? Like
It's
hit a tee shot down the middle, go pick up your bag, and you're like, okay, I need to think about something
No,
else.
it's very unconscious, but that took a lot of practice.
Okay.
And like the hardest places to do that is when you hit a bad shot off the tee or to the green, and you're like in your honor, you're like, you suck. Like you need to get to your ball, see if you have a good lie, see if you have a shot, and you're like kind of rushing. And that's the time where you have to like really take a step back and take your mind off of it. And like, it's just,
that's such a good point.
yeah. It's not the times where you hit good shots that you have to tell yourself to like relax. It's the time where you're playing bad and you're hitting bad shots that you have to just calm yourself down.
The most anxious I get when I'm on the golf course is when I hit it's usually a tee shot for me. When I hit a tee shot and I don't know whether I'm going to find it or not.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you're in a cart with someone, you're like, fuck, can you just hit your tee shot? Jesus Christ, what is taking so long? Why is this guy taking so long to hit this golf ball?
Yeah.
Because you just want to drive up there and find the ball, right?
Exactly.
Go-to topics are sports betting.
Yeah. Love.
Heavy
Especially
majority.
Basketball, football, especially.
I know you're super into basketball.
Yeah. You didn't know?
No.
Yeah. Huge basketball guy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You're a Philadelphia guy, right?
Yeah.
On your team.
Sixers guy.
I don't think I've watched an NBA game other than the Raptors finals last year in 12 years.
So I know that you're biased towards football a little bit.
Yeah, extremely. Yeah. Golf and football.
In terms of the best product from game to game and from week to week, the NBA is hands down the best.
Like to bet on? Like
Not to bet on. I'm talking about like the production of the actual event. So football, my issue with football now is that if you don't have a team you want to watch, like you watch Seahawks games, do you watch other games as well? They can get
not a lot.
Extremely boring on TV. It's like kickoff commercial, run a play commercial, timeout commercial, and it's like, holy fuck, just show some plays. And the thing that like I love about basketball and people love about basketball is like there's 4 or 5 minutes of like constant play and constant action and scoring and whatnot, and then there's short timeouts. And then you're back to the action. Whereas football, it's kind of like stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. And I love it when I'm watching a team that I like, but I find the product really hard to enjoy if you don't have money on it or if you're just like watching two random teams.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna watch the Bills versus the Titans just because it's on.
I don't think I could name one person on the Bills or the Titans currently. Honestly, for me, football, obviously I'm very Seahawks biased.
Yeah.
And Seahawks games, I watch every single play.
Yeah.
I don't know if in the last 10 years I've watched a game, every single play that didn't involve the Seahawks.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. It's just for basketball, for me, the games don't mean anything a lot of the year.
I agree.
There's
also
so many games.
I also kind of like the narratives in basketball. Like I love that people hate LeBron. I love that the stars move between teams a lot.
Yeah.
Kawhi came to Toronto, won a championship, and left.
I think the NBA like showcases the personalities the most, right?
Oh my God. Especially on social media nowadays, they do such a good job of promoting the people that they know will get likes and they know will get comments and whatnot. You could whenever LeBron does something, regardless of how cool it is, it can be a sick dunk, and the first comment you'll see on Twitter is like, MJ would have done this better. And people just get down this rabbit hole of like bickering and arguing about stuff that doesn't matter, but I love it. And football has that a little bit, but I don't think they're as good at like promoting certain stories and aspects of the game that will bring in more people.
Do you think they have to though? Because really, football isn't a North American sport. The NBA is probably more global than football, right?
Yeah, for sure. But football's doing a pretty good job of like the overseas games and all that stuff. But I think basketball reaches a larger audience because it's still huge in Europe.
Huge in Europe, huge in China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with football too is like the teams are so big, guys are in full gear, right?
For
so
sure.
you don't see their faces when they're playing or whatever. And then the difference in positions, right?
Yeah.
Like wide receivers, running backs, are going to get way more likes, way more like attention than linemen.
Yeah, that's so true. And if you go through like every lineup, I could probably give you QB, running back, and 2 receivers from every team, and I couldn't give you a single lineman. And they're playing every single play that everybody else is, but there's so many more people on the field in football that like don't matter.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Whereas football, I think basically unless you're a quarterback or a really high end running back or like a top 3 receiver, you're not promoted at all.
Is it is it up to you or is it up to the league to promote?
I mean,
I think just people being attached and making connections.
I think if the league wants more people attached to it, I think they have to do a little bit of a better job. But I don't know.
I guess the NFL's way of caring about the stars is just to change the rules, right?
Yeah.
You can only hit the quarterback between their upper thigh.
I can't
and their
even get
nipple.
into the reffing this year. I'll go.
Dude, there's so many things you can talk about in NFL right now.
Yeah.
There's so many crazy rules changes.
For sure.
The PI challenge is just such a gong show right now.
I think I don't know, I even know the stat, but like from a couple weeks ago, it was like 2 out of like 35 PI challenges had been overturned.
It was way more than
and every single time a coach challenges it, it is 100% PI, and they won't overturn it.
So, Seahawks Social Podcast, we did like a 15-minute talk about this, and I think it was like maybe in week 9 or something like that, Carl, we did it. Mm-hmm. And at the time, it was 4 had been overturned out of 59 challenges.
4 out of 59?
Yeah. And so I Googled what is the definition of being able to overturn it. And the wording...
Is it conclusive evidence?
That's a regular challenge.
Okay.
The PI challenge is different. The PI challenge word is egregious. It has to be egregious.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I Google egregious, and so I read it on the podcast. It means shocking or like comma outstandingly bad.
So basically like the Saints game from last year in the playoffs.
That's literally why they brought it in, right?
Yeah.
But the wording is just so funny.
Well, why even bring it in if you're not going to use it at all? Because I think it almost pisses people off more than not having it than having it. Mm-hmm.
Because you go through the replays,
and then not doing anything about it, because then the announcers and the teams and the coaches are like, okay, that's PI. Mm-hmm. Even Gene Steratore, the in booth rules officials, like, yeah, that's PI, and then they'll come on the field, they're like, play upheld. You're like what? Like, what are you
it's
talking
such a
about?
Judgment call. So then, like, because if they start overturning more of them, so let's say it's 20 of 59 instead of 4 of 59, then where did the challenges stop? Right? Can you challenge holding? Can you challenge face mask? Can you challenge?
Well, they even when the NFL brought it in, so did the NBA. Coaches have one challenge now in the NBA,
and it's the exact same problem. They're not overturning anything.
They're not overturning it, so why even do it? And I honestly don't know if it's a. Do you think it's that? Do you think it's refs don't want to admit that they're wrong, or do you think that they're just applying the rule how they think it should be?
It's definitely not they're applying the rule how they think it should be.
Yeah.
I think it's I guess the wording for the NFL is how they want it to be changed, right? If it was a shockingly bad miscall like that Saints game last year, then it's going to be overturned. If it's in the heat of the moment, in the actual time, if it's a borderline call, they're not going to change it.
No, I agree, but I honestly think, like, I watch so much football, and it's pretty easy to tell if something is like a 50-50 judgment call and if something is PI.
Yeah.
And the refs are looking at the exact same replays as I am, and I'm like, that's pass interference. That's not. And if it's a judgment call, I'm like, whatever. But there's so many times where you're like, that is obviously cheating. And the rules officials come back and they're like, no pass interference. And it's like, what are you looking at? It drives me nuts.
We had this conversation on the Seahawks podcast too. Is the NFL rigged? are the refs? No, seriously,
man.
seriously though,
I know,
are they
I-
trying to develop weaker markets so that they can make more money?
I think they're trying to promote certain storylines that they think will sell better.
Absolutely. Right?
And-
Like, no one gives a shit about Seattle.
Yeah.
I get it. I've understood this for a long time. Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than anyone in the league right now. I don't think that is comparable. But Lamar Jackson's the new fancy kid.
Yeah.
So they're going to give the MVP to him, right?
I know.
There's so many things like that.
That's a discussion for another day.
Why?
Because I'm going to talk for 4 hours about it.
You got the appointment. What time? 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, we got lots of
We
time.
got lots of time.
We could literally talk about NFL all day.
Yeah.
I love the sport so much. I think the 16-game season is
It's amazing.
phenomenal.
I think a lot of leagues would benefit from shortening seasons. And I think
Owners
a
wouldn't
lot of
like it though.
I don't think they wouldn't, because I guess
Like, what does the NBA get? Even the bad teams probably get like 15,000 people to a game.
Yeah, some places are like just over like 10 or 11, like Atlanta and Charlotte, and some other places are really bad, but it's still profit as opposed to if you don't run a game at all.
Right. They have the stadium there.
Because it's just a fixed cost for them. They don't lose money by just having empty seats.
Exactly.
So
Baseball too,
I get
man.
it.
Like, I cannot watch a baseball game until late August.
but here's my
just
other thing
before the
about it. If you shorten a season to say like 60 games, that I would guess would fill the stadium more if there's less games.
Probably, but probably the total number of tickets goes down.
Yeah.
Tickets would be more expensive.
Tickets are more expensive. Yeah.
Like the NFL is ridiculous.
Yeah.
To get into a Seahawks game right now, to sit in the last row of the upper deck, which is not a great seat.
Yeah, that's
Sat there
right.
before.
That's where most of the games I've been to have been.
It's
Which is sweet.
$120
It's
US.
nice and loud up there, though.
Yeah.
It's a good atmosphere.
But it's $120 US. So
Yeah.
Canadian, what is that? 160, 170?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. To get in the lower bowl for that Monday night game that I went to was $230.
Yeah. I just like
It's $320 Canadian.
if you are a borderline or bad NHL or NBA team, you have 41 home games each. Why would you want to go to every single one of them? That's just too many. It's a time commitment. It's a money commitment. It's so much. So I think if you lower the regular season a bit, I think it makes the league a little bit better. And I think you get away from all this like sitting out for rest bullshit that happens in those leagues.
That was the point I was
You know?
going to make, is it will prolong the stars' careers,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Playing 82 games in a season is insane. If that goes down to 50,
Yeah.
like someone like, well, LeBron's just going to do whatever he wants because
Kawhi started that more than anybody. The
Last year.
what do they call it?
Time
Healthy
management
scratch.
or whatever.
Yeah, load management.
Yeah, that's it.
that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, they say load management. So he'll play a game where he plays like 36 minutes, and they'll have a back to back. It'll be like Kawhi Leonard already ruled out for tomorrow for rest. Like, what are you talking about?
And then you bought tickets to that game a long ass time ago, and then
that's another thing that the league hates.
Yeah.
So I live in Phoenix from like January to March, and I'll buy tickets for certain games I want to see. Like I want to go see LeBron, I want to go see Giannis, and because Phoenix has been so bad, they'll like rule the stars out after I've already bought tickets, and people are pissed. Like understandably so, because you're going to those games to see those people, and then they get.
But what did your ticket cost? $20.
Oh, Phoenix is amazing. Yeah, I've gone to games there for like $7.
are you
It's sick.
serious?
Oh, yeah.
$7?
Yeah, you get
Just
them
see
on-
guys
you
like LeBron.
You get them on. You get them on. The LA games are more, but
For
like
sure.
if you go to a market, so Giannis is just a huge star now,
Yep.
but Milwaukee isn't a huge franchise, so you can go see him for like $15. You'll buy an upper row seat in the stadium, so it's so not filled that you just go down to the lower bowl and watch.
Remember,
it's amazing.
I remember when Turris was playing in Arizona, in Phoenix.
Yeah,
and he told me that they had this deal. Like, I don't know if it was a specific day of the week, like maybe Sunday games or something like that, but you could get parking, a ticket, a hot dog, and a beer for $20 US.
That's amazing.
What a party, man. That's crazy.
Just trying to get people to show up.
Yeah.
Guess who's the best attendance in the NBA?
Best attendance? Toronto?
Close.
Boston Celtics.
It's your team.
Philly. Actually,
Philly.
I knew that.
So Philly averages just over 20,000
Yeah.
people a game.
Yeah.
And then the last place are the Timberwolves with just under 15,000. So it's still
Well,
not
that's
that
not bad. I would have thought it was Charlotte.
15 is the lowest? That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
That's really good.
Charlotte's next.
Yeah.
I played a game in that stadium, eh?
In the Hornets Stadium?
No, Timberwolves Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota. When we North Dakota.
The Timberwolves, they got a couple superstars. That's weird.
I know. That's actually really surprising that maybe people just don't want to leave their houses when it's minus 30.
I went
From October to like February, it's just a frozen tundra in Minnesota.
I went to North Dakota for a year, right?
Yeah.
And I have a buddy that played in the basketball team that I maybe chat with, I don't know, once every few months. He's a realtor in Fargo, North Dakota right now.
Like,
And so I was messaging him this morning.
Yeah.
It's minus 20 Fahrenheit there today.
oh my gosh.
And I was like, I was just guessing what it is here, but I was like, that's a cool 45 degrees today. Yeah, it's just different fucking life, man. Going outside of the house is a chore.
So minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit is minus 30 in Celsius.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you want to leave?
But it was 10 degrees today in Burnaby. So what was that? What's that Fahrenheit?
Oh, man. This math.
Maybe 40? Yeah,
Yeah, somewhere around there.
40, yeah. I said 45, but
It's crazy.
whatever, I lied.
50.
50? Oh, I underestimated. I should message him. Thomas. Sunny over here. Mike correctly predicted the Rams win on Sunday.
So we talked about this a little bit. You
Okay,
and
we're
I-
going
you and-
full
you-
into NFL right now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's just where I hoping it was going to go. Seahawks, I would say, are my
Where would you put them in power rankings right now?
6, between 5 and 6.
So who's better? Because I'll disagree with at least 4 of them.
You probably will.
The Ravens, I get. Put them,
Okay.
sure. Put them
So
up there.
here-
I get it. The Niners, sure. They
So
beat
this
the Saints.
is how I'm gonna make this scenario. Just like college football playoff, it's gonna be a neutral site, 50-50 fans.
The Seahawks are 6-1 on the road.
No.
What do you mean? No.
I'm gonna explain
They are.
my scenario, and this is how the argument is gonna go. Neutral site, no home, no away. I think that a neutral site in the playoffs, the Patriots beat the Seahawks.
Fuck off.
I think the Ravens beat the Seahawks.
Maybe.
I think the Chiefs beat the Seahawks.
Nope.
That is in the AFC. I think that the Packers and the Seahawks would have a really good game.
No.
That'd be a toss-up. See, this is why I can't argue football with you, because you're so pro Seahawk that
Why aren't I allowed to
No,
have
you're
opinion?
allowed, but every time I say, you say no.
Okay, well, I'm still listening.
Saints. So how many teams have I listed? Like 5 or 6?
5.
And I listed them at 6 in the power rankings. I think neutral site, the 49ers and the Seahawks would have another good game, and I think the Rams and the Seahawks would have another good game. So that was 8 teams, and we'll say 50-50 in those. So I think they're between 4 and 6 in the power rankings.
What do you not like about them?
I don't like their receiving core.
I think they have one of the best receiving cores in the league.
I don't.
Metcalf?
I think that Metcalf...
A healthy Lockett is a
Healthy
completely different
Healthy
player.
Lockett is very good.
Yeah.
But Metcalf can only run routes 2 ways and from the left side of the field.
Correct.
But
But he's a great second or third guy.
I agree, but I think that he's super reliant on... Here's my issue, is that they don't have a tight end they can rely on. Would you
Yeah,
agree with
I know.
that?
So
who are they playing right now? Jacob Hollister?
So Disley at the beginning of the year,
He's good.
I didn't even know who he was.
He's a really good receiver.
and the first 3 or 4 games before he tore his Achilles,
Yeah.
he looked great. Not like top 5 tight ends in the league, but really good third option on the offense.
I think that we disagree on how the Seahawks should run their offense.
I don't disagree with that.
I think that, so I'm a big analytics guy, and like turnovers in the NFL are very random from season to season. And I think the Seahawks are on the plus side of the turnover ratio right now. So their defense is not very good in terms of like yards per game, points per game, but they're very, very good on the turnover ratio, which doesn't necessarily mean they're bad or good. They're just not lucky, but they're winning a thing that isn't very predictable. They were, for most of the year, they were like with the Bucks and the Cardinals in terms of like how bad their defense was from game to game. And I think they really, really rely on Russ doing things on like second and long and third and long to keep them in the game. And I don't think it's very sustainable. Even though he always does it, with how their team is set up, if they run into a team that is really good against the run, Pete Carroll has this thing where he's like, I'm going to run on first down, I'm going to run on second down, and then I'm going to rely on Russ on third down to like do something out of his ass, where they don't have a very good offensive line protecting him. And they rely on him to do things that are really, really hard to do. And if their receiving core isn't healthy, they're going to have a tough time winning out of Seattle.
They haven't been very good in Seattle this year, though. So a few comments.
Yeah.
One, the defense is not close to as nearly as good as they've been in the past.
Yeah,
not even close.
No Sherman,
giving up a shit ton of yards.
Thomas. Yeah.
But what I kind of like about what they've done so far this year, turnovers, yes, is one point.
Their Clowney signing was tremendous. He's been very good.
And he's he hasn't been healthy for a while.
But I really like that signing for them.
Even Ansai, whatever his last name is.
Ziggy Ansah?
Yeah. He hasn't been playing for a while.
Yeah.
And he's a beast in the middle. Kendricks was out this week, one of our second best linebacker. Yeah. So like, I think they're a little bit beat up, but turnovers, they've been really good.
Yeah.
The other thing they've been really good at, and I don't have stats on this, but just watching the games, is forcing teams to kick field goals.
Yeah.
And that's how you win games, right? Not giving up touchdowns.
Yeah, and
that's why they're 10-3.
I agree. And the other thing that I think that they are falling behind on in terms of how the league is progressing is how how do I say this? Like how aggressive they are. So Baltimore has like an analytics department that Harbaugh goes to in certain situations that increases their odds of winning. And I know like a lot of old school football people hate it, but more and more teams are going to this thing where on like 4th and 1 and 2 at the 50 or the 45, they'll go for it instead of kicking these short punts.
Yeah.
And Pete Carroll has it so ingrained in his mind that in any situation that's like, that can increase your chance of winning, he thinks that he should do the defensive thing. And I really hate it, especially with a quarterback like Russ, where getting 1 or 2 yards with how mobile he is isn't very hard. And I think that they should start doing things that increase their chance of winning as opposed to decrease their chance of like losing a game, because he repeatedly does things that like really hurts their chance of winning. And then in the last few minutes of a game, they have to rely on a fourth quarter comeback where Russ has to just throw and throw and throw and throw to win a game, where you can just deploy a strategy to start the game where you throw more. You do mix in the run because they're a great running team, but you use more play action. You use more plays that are a little bit more on the dangerous side, as opposed to like running the ball isn't very scary unless Carson fumbles. But Russ is
6 lost fumbles this year? I think he's fumbled 8 times, lost 6.
Russ very rarely throws the ball. So the thing that I loved about Russ for the MVP at the beginning of the year is that his efficiency was like out of control. He was throwing less than 30 times a game, but throwing like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is super hard to sustain. But now it's gotten to the point where, you know, it's normalized where Seattle is using this game plan week in and week out where they fall behind like 10-0, 13-3, and then they have to rely on Russ to throw the ball where they could just do that to start the game. And I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I can't stand it.
I know.
But I mean, what are they? 10-3? So I don't like looking at teams' records to determine if they're doing things right. I like to watch games and watch film and figure out if they're actually doing things that increase their chance of winning. And I think Seattle is on the very positive side of where they could be record-wise.
Completely agree.
Like I'm fine with
Our
having
first
them.
4 wins were like by 1, by 4,
Yeah.
by 2, by 2.
Yeah. And like,
And one was a missed field goal at the end of the game.
and I know that Seattle won in San Fran, but Pete Carroll is bad at clock management, but Shanahan's clock management in the fourth quarter and overtime was one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, I think the San Fran had the ball and they were winning with like 3 minutes left, and they went like throw, and took like 10 seconds off the clock and then punted it straight back to Seattle.
Do you think Garoppolo is good enough to win a Super Bowl?
I think that Garoppolo is kind of like Brady, where he is good enough to manage situations that they can where they need him, but he's not good enough to win a game by himself. I think their running game is way better than their passing game. And I think that if San Fran were to fall behind and had to like chase a team, they'd be in a lot of trouble. I think he's better than average, but he's like maybe the 10th to 12th best quarterback in the league this year.
I'm pretty
Somewhere in
unimpressed with him, to be honest,
Yeah.
for the, let's say, 45 minutes of football I've watched of Seahawks, or I've watched of the 49ers outside of the Seahawks game this year. But he was surprisingly good, and maybe he just had his best game of the year this week
In New Orleans?
In New Orleans.
Yeah. I think like he also has probably the first or second best offensive mind in the league telling him what to do,
Right.
which is huge. Like Shanahan in Atlanta was amazing. And then he came to San Fran and they were okay last year, but this year they're really good. And like next to the quarterbacks and a few running backs, Kittle is like the most important player
For sure.
in the league. He's incredible. He's like the number 1 rated pass protection guy. He's the number 1 blocker. He's like a top 3 receiver. So actually, I don't know. I was thinking about this on the way over here. I think that next year, it's very possible that Seattle's division could have a team where like the least amount of wins is like 6 or 7. So I think Arizona is going to be a lot better if they pick up a few defensive pieces, and Kingsbury and Murray should be better. And then the Rams and Seattle and the 49ers will still be good. That division is going to be really, really good for a while.
It's been like, if not the best division, one of the top 2
For
or 3
sure.
divisions for 15 years, it feels like.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, since Russ got there. For sure.
2012, yeah. It's been so good. It's so hard to get. And then you look at like the Cowboys division that they're leading at 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Literally, Arizona would be trying to win a division in that division.
Yeah. It's crazy.
The other, like the Seahawks secondary in the first 6 or 8 games of the year was worst in the league, probably.
Yeah.
So bad. Shaquille Griffin, I really like, and he's pretty good. Flowers, rookie, big body.
And they signed, who they signed from Detroit? Quandre Diggs?
So
He's fucking good. He's fucking good.
dude, it was literally like a switch.
Yeah.
It was like one of the worst secondaries in the league. Oh, okay. Now we're actually not that bad on defense.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Really, really good. He was good in Detroit. And my brother, he's a huge Lions guy. He was pissed when they let him go. He's really good.
He's very good.
And I like the few moves, I'll give Seattle credit. The few moves that they've made in the offseason or during the year have been really good. I don't like teams getting into these scenarios where they're good, but I don't know if they're good enough to win a Super Bowl. And I don't know if Seattle's pieces are good enough to win a Super Bowl.
Even so, like, again, with the front office credit, getting Gordon on waivers,
Yeah.
pretty good pickup, man.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is so solid. How old is he?
He's young.
Is he 28, I think?
I would guess
That's it?
Yeah.
I would guess 26 to 28.
He's
yeah.
28, I believe.
Yeah.
So, feels like
The
every
upside,
week
the
he gets a
upside is
little
there
better.
for sure with the stuff you're sacrificing in terms of if he's, you know, a problem in the locker room or if you're dealing with his out of game stuff.
It
But
seems
I
like
like
he's
it.
been pretty good. Like, I follow him on social media. He seems like he's pretty pumped to
yeah.
be in Seattle.
Is he
The
injured
guys
right
love
now?
him. No.
No.
He
Did
was
was he playing versus the Rams? Because he didn't.
Yeah, I think he had 5
Gordon?
targets.
Did he had
Gordon
some
had 6 targets and caught
2
three,
catches, 2 or 3?
Yeah.
three, I think.
So I think if you can deploy Lockett, Metcalf, and Gordon together, that's actually quite a good receiving core. But I'm kind of not loving how they are because Metcalf and Lockett are both deep targets a lot of the time. I think Lockett plays a little bit in the slot, but I think his skill set is best utilized down the field. And then Gordon can be your shorter target, I think. But Metcalf is good, but he's so one-dimensional.
I really like him, to be honest.
I don't mind him.
He's 23 years old. He's
I know.
a rookie.
I just hope he can like expand his route running tree.
He's such a like look at his size, Mike.
I know.
He's what, 6'5", 240?
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest receivers in the league. He's massive.
Yeah,
So obviously DBs are going to be faster than him.
for sure.
Obviously. So his thing is he's a big dude like a Megatron.
Yeah.
Like that's what he's trying to be.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be the best route runner in the league.
No,
like,
I agree.
Like
but
Lockett.
like if you follow like next gen stats on Twitter and stuff, and it shows every route that he runs, and like 99% are like from the left side of the field and a post pattern, and that's all he does. And then he runs a few out patterns, and it's like I like the guy as like a third option, but I don't think he's a good enough second option. And if Lockett is injured, I really wonder who Russ is going to throw the ball to, especially if Disley's out. Is he season-ending IR?
Tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
Week 6 or
Yeah.
something.
He was a surprisingly nice addition during the first part of the year.
I think he had 6 touchdowns through week 6.
He was very profitable for me, taking the over on receptions for Disley every week. He was good.
If Lockett is healthy, I like our offense a lot against most other
Yeah.
teams.
I know.
Those 3 guys, obviously, like I've watched Metcalf a lot, and I like how good his hands are for being a big receiver. And he's a rookie.
His hands are good. Do you remember that one weird play he had? I don't know when he caught the ball and then he just dropped it. Which game was that?
Yeah, but fucking so does Terrell
Was
Owens.
that Tampa Bay or San Fran?
I can't remember.
It was so
That
weird.
was
He
so
caught it and then
weird.
he just like tried to tuck it and he dropped the ball. I was like, how does that even happen?
Rookie.
But yeah, I think
Losing Penny was huge. Losing Penny literally might be the difference between us making a deep playoff run or not.
Yeah.
Like Penny was very, very
If you had to do a top 3 power ranking for Super Bowl, who would you do?
for Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I would probably pick Baltimore, San Fran, and I really don't like anyone else in the AFC.
Yeah.
I don't think New England's good enough to win. Their offense isn't good enough.
Saints?
I don't think I'm going to say who I don't think first.
Mhm.
I don't think KC's good enough. And then you go to the NFC and it's literally Seattle and New Orleans for me. I don't think Green Bay is good enough to win.
See, I think the NFC North has a couple sneaky teams. I know that Minnesota lost in Seattle.
Minnesota hasn't beat one good team this year.
I know. I don't know is that true?
Yeah.
I don't trust Cousins in big games.
It was the same. They were like the same as the Niners. The Niners hadn't beat a good team until New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, that's Minnesota's wins are not as strong as I thought they were.
No.
Okay, so I'll take them out. But I think if you have to go to Green Bay is a very, very hard place to win when it's cold. And I don't love that. Like if Seattle gets a wild card and has to go to Green Bay, would be a fucking really good game to watch.
But knowing how much Seattle likes to run the ball,
I know. But Green Bay can also run the ball now, which is a little scary. Their receiving core, other than Adams, is like really, really bad too.
I'm more scared to play in New Orleans than in Green Bay, to be honest.
I would be too, but since when does New Orleans give up 50 points
I know.
in the Superdome?
That was crazy. What a shootout, man.
What a
That was
crazy
such
game.
a weird game.
Every team has those weird games throughout the year, though. That's why football is so much fun to watch.
And like you asked me about Garoppolo, I think San Fran is I think that San Fran is built really well. Defensively, they're really good with Boza and Sherman and a couple other DBs. Offensively, they can run the ball
they
with
lost
three
a corner
different
this
guys.
year for the year.
Yeah.
Do they?
This week, and Sherman is day to day.
I just don't know how Garoppolo will deal with like playoff pressure
environment.
if they get behind.
Yeah.
So I think this year in the NFL is pretty cool because there's not one team where you're like they're really, really, really good. Like by far the best.
I don't think Baltimore is by far the best.
I think they are now. So the first half of the year they were not playing with their three best defensive players, and over the last 4 weeks they've been rated the best defensive and offensive team. Just really scary.
Have they played anyone good they played the Bills?
So yeah, this is the thing. Their strength of schedule is rated the top in terms of win-loss record in the league. Their last 5 weeks has been incredibly difficult. I think they beat New England, Buffalo, Kansas City, and San Fran. So you can say what you want, but that's pretty good. That's a pretty good winning streak.
I ranked them number one in the power.
I know. So
do you think Lamar's going to win playoff games though?
I think they can because if his weakness is throwing the ball sometimes, and I think he can just tuck and run if he has to. And their defense is going to hold the other team to not very many points, so it's not like they have to put up 40 to win. So they beat the Steelers, the Pats, the Texans, the Rams, the 49ers, and the Bills in the last 6 weeks, and the Seahawks.
Seahawks was early.
Seahawks was week 7.
7?
Week 7, they won at Seattle.
That was a shit game.
And then they beat the Patriots in week 9. They beat the Texans.
Account of the Seahawks team.
But listen to these wins, though.
I know.
They beat
I'm
the
paying
Texans,
attention, Michael.
No, but by the margin of victory, 41-7 against the Texans.
I know.
45-6 against the Rams. Like, they're fucking good. They're good.
I think the Rams had a very good game last week.
I agree. I think that I don't even know what the record is. I think it's
8-5.
No. Like the last 6 or 7 times they've played Seattle, it's like 7-0 or something like that.
I think they're 6-2 in the last 8.
6-2, and McVay just constantly owns Pete Carroll. Drives me nuts, but I hate Pete.
He has his pros and cons.
He has his pros and cons for sure.
Pro, shoe selection.
Cons.
Con, kicking a field goal with 7 minutes left when you're down by 3 scores.
Yeah.
They had it was 4th and half a yard in the first quarter.
Pete loves to make like 2-score games with field goals. So you need a touchdown and a field goal, and he's like, I'm going to kick 2 field goals.
But he got it to 16.
Yeah.
That's like the hardest number to get.
Yeah.
Oh, man. NFL is wild.
But I'm excited for the playoffs this year. It should be good.
I do not want Baltimore to win. I want anyone to. I would rather San Fran win than Baltimore, to be honest.
Do you think that New England has the ability to like just turn it on in the playoffs again? Because they're going to get home field advantage, not for the entire division,
They're
but
gonna be number 2.
they'll get the second seed. And
So they're gonna
I
have
don't
a
like
home
betting
game.
I don't like betting on New England, but like it's so hard to bet against them in the playoffs with home field.
So they'd probably have a home game against someone like KC.
Yeah. I think because KC beat them if they both if New England wins out and KC wins out, New England would have them by 1. But if New England loses a game, then KC would get home field.
Oh shit!
So that game last week was like really important for the seeding, and that was in Foxborough, and New England looked like pretty gross. How about my Cowboys?
To hear
Though?
that.
Great team.
Your Cowboys?
Jesus.
Neither them or the Eagles want to win the division.
No.
How many days does their coach have left?
Well, he should have been fired like, I don't know, 14 months ago.
Why are you a Cowboys fan?
I just grew up watching them with my dad.
Really?
Yeah. Ralph's a Cowboys guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Ugh. Nav is a big Eagles guy. Nav has been very quiet this year, Carl. Very quiet.
What can you say?
That's fair.
Who did they play last week?
The Eagles, they played the Giants on Monday.
Right.
And they won an OT.
nail-biter. Yeah.
And the week before that, so I think it went
Miami?
the Cowboys lost to the Bills and who's the other team they lost to? Cowboys lost to the Bills and the Bears, like both embarrassingly ways, and then the Eagles were going to lose to the Dolphins and the Giants, and it was like 4 weeks in a row where you had no idea what was going to go on, and now they play each other in week 16, I think, and that's going to decide who wins. Probably at like 9-7.
Yeah. If that.
Where I think in Seattle's division, there's going to be 3 teams with I don't know this Rams strength of schedule, but they might not lose a game coming in. And
The Rams play against the Niners week 16
okay.
in San Fran.
So does San Fran play Seattle and the Rams back to back?
Yeah. So San Fran has an easy game. I think they play Atlanta, then the Rams, then Seattle.
Yeah.
And Seattle has Carolina, Arizona, San Fran.
Okay. So
they both should win 2.
And then
And the Rams have 2 easy ones and 1 hard one.
Yeah.
Dallas, San Fran, Arizona.
Dallas, San Fran, Arizona.
Dallas isn't necessarily easy.
Is it in Dallas or?
It's in Dallas.
Oh, that's
That's
a
not
little
easy.
tougher.
Yeah.
So
Because Dallas
But-
needs to win.
and the Rams are 8-5 now.
Yes.
So I could see there could be 3 teams in that division with 10 wins.
Mhm.
Is it possible for 3 teams to get into the playoffs in that division with 2 wild cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, with 10 wins, yeah.
They just have to get both wild card spots, which
They
is
would have,
super
yeah,
rare.
yeah, exactly. That's what I
Right?
mean.
So they'd have to have a better record than Minnesota. Who else really? It's really just Minnesota. The Eagles aren't going to be there. That would be the next wildcard spot. So
yeah, it's literally it's the Rams versus the Vikings basically, and then there's the Bears at 7-6, and the Bears aren't going to do anything. So that's
it's going to be probably
pretty
Seattle
good. It'll be the
wildcard.
last.
And
Those Seattle San Fran games needs to be flexed to the good spot.
they're talking about it.
Yeah.
They'd probably do it last minute. Because if New Orleans loses a game,
Yeah.
which they probably won't, that last game, regardless, even if New Orleans wins out, San Fran's going to win both,
Yeah.
probably, let's say. And then they play in Seattle. And if they win, they're number 1 in the NFC.
Yeah.
Whereas if they lose and Seattle wins the division, but is number 2 in the NFC because New Orleans beat us. But are both 13-3. Fuck, football's so good. Any other thoughts on golf, Mike, as we wrap up? What was like the biggest takeaway this year? Obviously, it wasn't the year you wanted to have.
So biggest takeaway would be I went into the year wanting to keep my card by like making cuts consistently, and I would rather go into each week like wanting to win. So it's like a very different mindset, like trying to make cuts and make money versus being okay with missing cuts and winning an event. So like there's a few guys I think this year that made like 10 of 12 cuts, but their highest finish was like 40th and they still lose their cards, as opposed to guys that win once, miss like 10 cuts in a row, and then, you know, keep their card and come like 10th on the money list, even though their scoring average and their cuts made were lower. They just have that 1 week, and because golf is so up and down, you really have to take advantage of the weeks where everything is clicking.
Yeah,
for sure. So I would definitely go into next year with a different mindset of like what I wanted to do. I would be totally okay with an up and down season as opposed to like a really consistent season.
What does the next 6 months look like for you?
Hopefully.
And what's the injury update?
Injury update. Doing physio and gym 4 hours a day.
Really?
4 hours a day. I'm doing physio stuff for my hip. Just maintaining my golf swing as much as I can without being able to take like that many full swings, no driver swings, and then moving down to Phoenix in January, hopefully for a few months. January to March, and then come back and prepare for Q school again.
May,
yeah.
on the island?
Yeah. You gonna come surprise me last day again?
I'm not going to tell you.
Sneak in the trees. I'm super surprised. Honestly, I was going to say this. I'm super surprised that I would feel like you would be good at sneaking around, but I feel like Alex would be like
I had to tell him
yelling
what to
stuff
do
from
every
the
single
trees
hole.
or like making some weird noises and stuff
Just
like that.
can't help himself,
He can't
eh?
help
Yeah.
himself.
Every single hole. I'm not joking. There would be points where he's like, Denny, I can't see. I'm like, Alex, fuck off. Go behind the tree. I don't know why I thought it would be. I honestly thought that like showing up and just being like, hey, Mike,
Yeah.
might just fuck you up for one hole or something.
No,
And I
it
didn't
was
wanna
good.
do
I
that.
like that you guys kind of stayed back. It was good. And then it was even better when I saw you guys at the end.
Yeah.
That was
On the
heat.
18th green. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, well, how many shots was he clear of the cut by? And I was like, I think it was like at least 3. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't really close. And they're like, well, you jumped out on the 18th green before he putt? It's like, yeah, but he had to like 5 putt from 12 feet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah.
I think you were like way clear.
Yeah.
'Cause the first 5 holes were plus 3.
I birdied the 17th hole, and then
That's right.
As soon as the tee shot on the last hole is kind of weird because it's a huge dog leg with OB on both sides.
Yeah.
As soon as I got that in the fairway, I was like, fuck yeah! I was so pumped.
On 17 was kind of awkward for someone trying
Yeah.
to stay in the shadows. That like we saw your tee shot and then we had to like sprint across the fairway
Yeah.
while you were on the green. So we were like, and Alex is obviously behind me. I'm like, Alex, hurry up.
Yeah.
Running across the fairway. And then we're like, we didn't really see you tee off on 18 because we had to like go up towards the
Yeah.
green almost. And then I think we see 2 or 3 balls in the fairway. Was it a threesome?
Yeah, it was a threesome.
So maybe 2 balls hit the fairway, like dead center of the fairway, and then one was like off into the bunker
Yeah.
or like something like that. And we couldn't see who was teeing off. We're like, fuck, I hope Mike's in the
Yeah.
fairway. I hope Mike's in the fairway. Oh man, but you made a putt on the fringe from on 17,
on
right?
17, yeah. That was big.
Yeah, so
that was
we
a
were-
big moment
Yeah.
for
Huge.
sure.
That was a really cool back 9 for you, man.
Yeah.
Even just after 5. After 5, it's easy to fall apart. Plus 3 through 5 outside the cut line.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something I look back on just for whenever I like have, even in tournaments when I'm like having a tough go at the beginning, I kind of can look back at that now. It's nice to have.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Thanks, buddy.
I hope next year, or this year was just a great learning experience for next year, and then next year is
This
the catapult year.
year's going to be good. No question. Got my learning experience done. It's time to win.
You got to come to Palm Springs next year.
Yeah. 2 years I've missed now in a row.
That's okay. The spot's still open.
Carol, you gonna pick up a club and join us or what?
I need some custom ones, man. I don't know. Maybe
You know a
one
guy
day.
that can help you with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how long would Carl's clubs be? 2
Probably-
inches oversized?
How tall are you? 6,
6'7",
6'7"?
6'8".
Yeah. Probably 3 inches long.
But like swinging a normal golf club for me is so awkward.
Oh yeah.
It's so awkward. I get laughs.
You can just come and have some beers with us. Glenn.
Cool. I can do that.
Then you save $1,200.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so expensive. All right, Mike. Thanks for coming
Yeah.
back, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks
That was
for having
fun. Anything else you want to share about your tour life? It's
No.
a fucking grind. I think that's the important thing for people to
That's the
understand.
main. It's not a luxury life. It's
Yeah.
a grind. Worth it for sure, but definitely tough at times.
Even just like the idea of making money for the next year. Like you have to try to find a part-time job for like 4, 5, 6 months.
And you can't think about the money part of it because then you're in trouble.
Right.
If you're grinding over every shot thinking that you have to do something to like be able to travel or pay for whatever next week, you're never going to play as well as you need to.
Do most guys just not like have other jobs during the year?
I
guess you can't really
No, a
do
lot
it.
of guys when I come home, a lot of guys like go to Phoenix or Florida for the 6 months right after the year ends. I tend to stick around and do like part-time work a little bit just to have a little more money for the winter time in Phoenix. But a lot of guys are just tour life for 6 and then practice in Phoenix or Florida for 6, and they'll have a little bit more help from sponsors and some outside help, but I'm happy with the way I'm doing it.
Phoenix and Florida, they're two big ones.
No, there's not really a winter season. Like
Anywhere else?
the best place to the best time to be in Arizona, it's like Palm Springs, is the winter months because it's not 40 degrees. It's like 25 every day, no clouds.
Yeah.
So
No Palm Springs, eh? Seems like
Palm Springs is good, but it's way more expensive than Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even to golf?
To golf
And
and,
to live?
the rent. It's
Yeah.
especially the living situation. In Arizona, you can find places for pretty cheap that are pretty nice, but Palm Springs especially, it's expensive.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, man.
That was fun.
It's good.
I'm excited to watch you next year. Hopefully from outside the trees.
It'll be a
but maybe
good,
one or
it'll be a
two
good year.
rounds of trees.
Inside the ropes.